Let's bring in John Strand of America's Frontline Doctors, someone that has appeared on the program before. Let's talk about some of the things, John, when it comes to Los Angeles, just your first reaction to that. And I also know part of your resume is within film as well. Is that right?
That's right, Matthew. Thanks for having me on as always. Yeah, I've been an actor in Hollywood for many years, and Los Angeles was home until 2022. So I've lived in Naples, Florida now for 3 years, but I can still remember, and I can remember that we've seen this movie before, right? This is basically BLM 2.0, this guise of mostly peaceful protest. But apparently, if you burn a police car in America, you're called an activist. But if you wave a flag as a patriot, you're somehow a domestic extremist. So, America has seen this movie and they don't like this plot of hypocrisy and double standards. We're really sick of it.
Yeah, exactly. Let's fast forward 48 hours from now as June 14th, of course. It's Flag Day, President Trump's birthday, that huge celebration there in Washington, D.C. for the 250th of the U.S. Army. A very patriotic day. You looking forward to it?
Oh my goodness, yes. I was just reliving the history. June 14th in 1775, the Continental Congress established the Continental Army, enlisted riflemen to fight the British Revolution against the British, and the next day appointed General George Washington as the general of the army. So 250 years later, we have President Donald J. Trump, who is clearly one of our greatest presidents as well, leading this new revolution, 1776 2.0. And this is the good part of the movie where we have a sequel to that really triumphant moment. And we're definitely embarking on the golden age of America, as President Trump has been saying. So it's an exciting time, and I think it's appropriate for us to commemorate liberty and the military that defends it. And to salute the return of law and order, and also pride and patriotism. I mean, Secretary of Defense Pete Hegseth has done an incredible job in the Trump administration, and recruitment for armed services has exploded because people clearly see there's a shift and we're returning back to our classic American values. So I think that's great.
Exactly. And speaking of movie scenes, when we see the good win versus evil, right? In this situation, we see President Trump as the hero, as the leader of the movement, and we the people, the majority of the country behind him, and so many people. But what we haven't seen too much of let's talk about movies here. At the end of the movie, you see the bad guys in cuffs going in the back of police cars. We really haven't seen that part of the movie yet. And though that's an analogy, there are people, including myself, including you, I believe, that are saying those that did break the actual law over the past 4 years or however far back we want to go, there has to be some arrests, right?
Oh, absolutely. And I don't think we should let this drag on too long. In a movie or in a story, there is an appropriate time for certain events to take place. And if you miss those time frames, you're going to get it wrong. You're not going to have a good result. I absolutely think it's incredibly important that the American people see perpetrators in handcuffs. They need to see that. It's an important symbol, but it's also a solid step in the right direction of actually restoring law and order and true justice under law. No one is above the law, as the left loves to say, but also loves to violate, and the hypocrisy is just too much. So yeah, we need. I just commented today about the disparity in Congress, for example. George Santos was swiftly expelled from Congress following charges of fraud, even before he was actually convicted. But there seems to be no urgency in addressing the issue of Representative LaMonica McIver, who assaulted ICE officers in a just disgusting display of belligerence. And she has been duly and properly charged. So where's the expulsion from Congress there? We're looking for equality under law. We're looking for fairness. This is a classic American value. It's instinctive to us. We know when something's unfair, and we're tired of it. So we want to see fairness and we want to see justice, and we do need to see some handcuffs. Yeah,
I mean, justice being served, law and order, we all want that in this country, especially the majority of the country. This is a real wide scope of a question here, but how many people do you think across this country? There's 347 million people. I looked yesterday. Many, are still young and they're not even watching the news and that kind of thing. But I'm talking about maybe 300 million people. Out of those 300 million people, How many are on the side of President Trump when it comes to law and order in Los Angeles? I'm thinking at least 200 million.
Yeah, first of all, in that number, there's at least 20 or so million that are illegal aliens that have been flooded through the country at the behest of a very corrupt Democrat Party, specifically to import Democrat voters and really to undermine the rule of law and the structure of a constitutional republic that we've been blessed to live under for 250 years. So this is an invasion and a subversion of our republic in a very overt sense. I think to your question, of course, the vast majority of people clearly support law and order. They clearly support President Trump's administration and his agenda of mass deportations to restore American sovereignty. If you don't have borders, you don't have a country. If you don't have sovereignty, national sovereignty, you do not have a republic. We want a republic. Ben Franklin charged us to keep it, and we plan to do that. So it's important. These riots in LA that are described as mostly peaceful protests. I'm sorry, but burning cars in the street is not protest. It's mob rule and it's violence, and it is clearly a color revolution. Political and social unrest that is being facilitated and manipulated by people in positions of influence and power. I'm looking at the Democrat Party, obviously, right now, and also the money trail with NGOs, USAID, and all of these very corrupt money trails and money sources that are funding this unrest, funding our own demise. It's absolutely insane. It's despicable. It must stop. So we need to put a lot of pressure on Congress specifically to investigate NGOs and get to the bottom of this corrupt money trail.
100%. And it seems like they have a very loud megaphone, but not that many actual people. If you think about it, how many radical extremists are really against our country? We see a few in Washington, D.C. We see some of those that are paying for these protests. We see the woke mob out there. And then we see the mainstream media. Now, outside of that group of people, everyday Democrats are not saying, let's go, think about it. I mean, I'm sure you know Democrats. I know some Democrats out there that just are brought up that way and that's what they believe in, but they're not going out there and throwing rocks at police vehicles. You know what I mean?
Yes, the endangered species of the moderate Democrat. They do exist, but it's a shrinking population for sure. And we welcome them into the MAGA tent here in the new Republican Party of old American values and a bright new future. So yeah, we welcome them, but absolutely need to make those distinctions. It is a very loud, vocal, radical fringe element of the left that is driving this violence and making it look disproportionate. But you know what, Matthew, tyranny advances in silence. So the only thing necessary for evil to win is for good men to play it safe. Good men cannot play it safe on the sidelines. Good men must step to the front lines, use their voice, exercise uncomfortable courage, which means doing what you know is right, even when you know it's going to cost you. It might cost you some acceptance. It might cost you some Instagram likes. It might cost you some tension in your workplace. Whatever the case may be, you need to look at yourself in the mirror and think through, what do I believe in? What is right and wrong? You were talking about the movie plot line, right? We know there is good and evil. And it's usually pretty obvious what good and evil is. But the left, the Democrat Party, unfortunately, hijacked by corrupt elements that are trying to flip the script. They're always trying to tell you what's good is evil and what's evil is good. This is the heart of the story. This is the climax of the movie, knowing what is good, pursuing it relentlessly, fearlessly with that courage until we triumph. But good men have to step up to the front lines to get that done.
I agree with you 100%. That's what President Trump has done. That's what Carolyn Levitt, Stephen Miller, Mike Lindell, yourself, myself, Robert McNeely, RSBN, conservative media, we the people are really stepping up to that plate because we understand what is at stake. Because we were going down the terrible direction if we would have had the other candidate as the leader of the free world.
Yeah.
That would have been ridiculous. Last point, John, I just want to really highlight the fact with you, and I really want to hear your opinion on this. People know about what I'm about to ask, but I just really want to really highlight it. The mainstream media, they want to sway public opinion. They just, and this is a bad way to say it, but they get off on swaying the public opinion. And even so they go up there, they have the big microphones and all that stuff, and if you look behind them, say it was just the people that were really in support of what they're saying, it's almost like crickets. There's only a few extremists back there. It's not the whole country. The mainstream media is really, really doing a terrible job trying to sway the public opinion of this nation.
Yeah, the radical left, they do not have a good product. What they are trying to sell, what they are trying to push, it is not attractive. It is not healthy. It is not what good people want. The left has never actually built anything. They just destroy what others have built in pursuit of revolution, in pursuit of radical deconstruction. And so they continually use these ideas and narratives to appeal to people's inner nature, their virtue, their desire to be kind, respectful, and fair. But they hijack and exploit those things in a dishonest direction. So clarity, wisdom is so important just to understand, again, who the good guys and the bad guys are, what is good and evil in the world. But yeah, they are trying to deceive folks to make them think that the message of the left is louder than it should be, and that the objectives of the left are something that people want when they're not.
It's so true.
We need to just reject it wholesale.
Exactly. John Strand with American Frontline Doctors. John, thanks again for joining us and for your insight here on Right Side.
Always a pleasure, Matthew. Thank you so much. Take care.
Definitely.